Welcome to week 3 of Dwell, as we seek to present our souls to God in prayer. We're working our way through each part of the soul. Last week we prayed a prayer centered around the body, and now this week and next we're going to focus on the mind. Most theologians and even many psychologists would recognize that what happens in our mind consists of both thoughts and emotions. And so next week we're going to pray centered around our emotions and noticing God there. But this week it's going to be focusing on our thoughts. And quite simply, our minds and specifically our thoughts are a huge source of distraction when it comes to our desire, our seeking to live in the conscious and constant awareness of God's presence in our lives. As we seek to abide and remain in Him, our thoughts can carry us 1,000,000 miles away. In his book, Present Perfect, author Greg Boyd offers this. He writes, "I realized that my trivial, self-centered mental chatter about the past and future, like a dark cloud blocking the sun, had kept me from seeing the glory of God that surrounded me every second of every day. Never before had I realized the extent to which our focus determines what we experience or do not experience in any given moment. Never before had I seen how being absorbed in the past or future causes us to miss the wonder of the present. The present moment is all that is real. The past is gone. The future is not yet. Reality is always now. And the single most important aspect of reality is that God is present in it every moment. To forget that God is present in any given moment is to forget the most important aspect of that moment. And that's the very reason why we desire to learn how to abide or to dwell in His presence, the conscious awareness of His presence. That's why in Colossians chapter 3, verse 2, the Apostle Paul writes this. He says, "Set your minds on things that are above, not on things that are on earth." And as the Apostle Paul writes that phrase, "set your minds," is actually just one word in the Greek, and it means to be mindful of something or to direct one's mind toward something. It might sound simple, but with all of our struggles with mental distraction, we realize that perhaps it's not quite so easy. Perhaps there's more to it, and there is. Directing one's mind is a skill that becomes a habit through prayer. As we learn in prayer to direct our mind to God, it's something that can become then a reality in our lives each day and increasingly each moment. And so this week, our prayer will be a simple prayer of quietly resting in God's presence, directing our mind toward Him. And then as we notice that our thoughts go on to other things, we just gently let them go and redirect our mind toward the Lord. In his great book, The Practice of the Presence of God, Brother Lawrence writes this. He says, "I kept my mind in His holy presence. I recalled His presence as often as I found my mind wandering from Him. I found this to be a very difficult exercise, yet I continued despite the difficulties I encountered. I did not allow myself to become upset when my mind wandered." And so as we engage in this prayer for the mind, each day this week, I want to encourage you to allow yourself to grow into it. You might find yourself being distracted a lot, and that's okay. The joy and the grace of this prayer is the ability to simply redirect our mind to the Lord. And as we develop that habit over time, it doesn't come quickly, it's not natural to us, but as we develop that habit over time, It is something that we can carry into our daily existence. And so this week we will dive into this prayer of the mind. And I encourage you, again, to be patient, to rest in God's grace, and to realize that this is building a habit and a skill, like building any other habit or skill. It's like working out at the gym. It takes time to lift heavy weights. So be patient and enjoy this prayer each day. Colossians 3, verse 2. Set your minds on things above, not on the things that are on the earth.